We're on the last leg of the show for today. Now, in today's episode of Tech Talk, we'll be exploring what it truly means to build in the age of blockchain, from decentralized application and smart contracts to creating communities and digital ecosystems. Blockchain is reshaping how we think about technology, ownership, and trust. We will dive into the opportunities, challenges, and strategies for developers and innovators looking to create impactful solutions in this rapidly evolving space. Joining us to share insights and experiences is Dave Nnamdi, software developer and blockchain educator. Dave, thank you for joining me on the show today, Dave.
Yeah, thank you so much. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you loud and clear.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Paul, for inviting me to be on this segment.
Yeah.
And I'm Dave Nnamdi, and I'm a software developer. I'm a blockchain engineer, and I facilitate blockchain training here in Kaduna. We have a blockchain development hub called the Budo, where we do a lot of trainings, empowering young minds to become very, very, very proficient leveraging the blockchain. So we've been doing this for a couple of years, and I'm happy to be here on this show to demystify all that is needed to understand the basics of blockchain and everything that powers the decentralized ecosystem. So thank you for having me. Thank you.
Yeah, Dave, thank you for joining me. That was quite a long introduction, Dave. Now, let's get straight to the topic. For those who are listening to us, you can also watch us live on Facebook. We're live on Facebook today, 95.1 FM. You can watch us live on Facebook and you listen and follow the conversation. Now, Dave, how did you get started as a software developer in the blockchain space?
All right, so I was inquisitive. I actually have solid interest in technologies and emerging everything that has been kind of like emerging technology back then in 2018. I started my journey by I was just very, very curious. I wanted to learn about this very new technology. I just did not want to be a bystander or just a user. I just wanted to understand how it works. And that really fueled my passion to start doing a whole lot of research, YouTube videos. Then eventually I stumbled across some resources that guided me to master what it takes to build on the blockchain. But then again, for you to build on the blockchain, you must learn some basic software development skills. So you must go to the route of the beginner-friendly route, front-end development, which comprise HTML, CSS, JavaScript, build a couple of applications, then moved over to backend. This was 2018. Then, of course, I have been using blockchain solutions, and I've always wanted to build on the blockchain, right? So, having mastered Web 2 skills, I, of course, have solid, because at the time, I was a community manager for a company based in Singapore, Consent Labs. I was a community manager. So with my background in software engineering, I wanted to dive into blockchain. Having mastered all of these things, how can I just not, I wanted something unique back then, right? I wanted to build on the blockchain, and that was how I dived into learning Solidity. Solidity is a language for writing smart contracts on Ethereum and all EVM chains. Started full integration. So when you build a smart contract with Solidity, you must integrate it using some libraries, right, to interact with the blockchain. And that was how I started. And so far, so good. The journey has been, it's been exciting seeing other people mastering some of the things that I learned. And we have kind of like built an ecosystem around educating more blockchain developers in the space. Yeah.
Now, because of time, I have to rush through some of these questions. If you can help me with short answers. Now, how would you explain building on blockchain to someone who is new in tech? How would you explain it?
All right, so building on the blockchain. So first of all, what's the blockchain? Blockchain is a permissionless, decentralized, distributed network, right? So that means that it's distributed. That means information is distributed amongst network participants. These network participants are nodes. So yeah, with me, if you look at my background here, I have a node that is running. So blockchain is business without nodes. So you must run a node with for you to leverage. The promise of blockchain is built on decentralization, and decentralization is built on the promise of the participation of nodes, right? So we have a source of truth, and that source of truth is distributed amongst network participants. So yeah, so distribution of network data decentralized. The network is decentralized, meaning that not one single participant can actually control what happens in the ecosystem, right? So we have a network and a fusion of nodes. So we have like everybody communicating, and once an information is processed by a single node, that information is distributed amongst all participants. So it is decentralized, distributed, permissionless. That means you just need no single authority to allow you access to the network. You just need simple access to internet. It gives you access to the network, and it's also secure. So to describe blockchain to a layman, it is kind of like look at it from the point of view that, let's take an analogy where we have an attendance management system, right? An attendance register in the class, right? We all passed through the system where we had a class rep in the class that took attendance at some point when we were attending school. So what happens in that system? That system, we most of the times we write it in a sheet. That system is riddled with a lot of inefficiencies, because what happens in the event that attendance register, the book in this case, what happens if it is stolen or lost or damaged for whatever reason, right? Blockchain is trying to like address that system, because first of all, it is decentralized. That means nobody can actually control it. It is not in the custody of that class rep, right? So that means every entry on that ledger, right, is flowing amongst everybody in that class. So not one person can control it, and information flows uniformly and in a distributed fashion amongst everybody in that class. And it is not, it cannot be compromised. That means every record is tamper-proof. Nobody can doctor it, right? If it is, if a hash is generated for any record, nothing can actually be done to change or doctor that hash. So yeah, so even any attempt to modify data in the network is also recorded as a transaction. So blockchain is a decentralized, distributed, secure ledger. So that means in the case of the record keeping system, that means it is very, very secure. Anybody can actually see what is every real-time update, in any update in real time. Everybody within that network can actually see what's happening. So yeah, so that's the promise of blockchain, and all of this is powered by nodes. So without nodes, all of these promises are kind of like a big shaky. So that means blockchains are heavily reliant on what we call nodes. So these nodes is what powers the network. So basically that.
Okay, now how do you think smart contracts change the way applications are built and run?
Okay, now, so traditionally, if you're going to write any logic, let's say you're going to build a server for a banking application, so that server is going to reside in a cloud infrastructure that is managed by a single entity. What happens if that single entity kind of like goes down, right? Nobody can actually access that application, in this case, that banking application, right? So blockchain changes that, because any application that you build and deploy on the network is not controlled by a single entity. Simple access to the network can actually give you access to read and write from state. So basically, how it changes that narrative of not one single point of failure, right? So if you're relying on a single entity in the case of a traditional application where you have deployed on AWS or any cloud infrastructure, right? So what happens if AWS itself goes down, right? Everything that has been deployed as an application on AWS goes down, right? But however, in the case of smart contracts, if you deploy a smart contract on Ethereum, for instance, or any decentralized network, as far as that network is up, right, you can have unhindered access to that logic that you deployed on the network. So that is what has changed, right? So you don't really rely on centralized cloud providers to deploy the logic that you want to build. You deploy your logic on the network, and you can actually access it. Anybody can actually access it. It's not really siloed to you alone as the deployer of that logic. Anybody within that network can actually read and write from that logic, as far as the functions in that logic. As far as the constraint of the functions of that logic specifies that it is open to anybody to write, but reading, it is open for anybody to read from it. So yeah, so that is how smart contracts changes development in this current dispensation. Yeah.
Now, what are some of those challenges you think developers face when starting a blockchain project?
So yeah, so one of those things is security, right? Security is a major challenge, right? So one of the things that the developers this space is we have a lot of hacks. So you're going to build a network that it's just like building a glass bank in a street that is full of thieves, right? The guarantee and safety of that bank is determined by the saneness of the people residing within that street, right? If you're building any monetary-based logic that is going to be deployed on the network, you must do a lot of testings and audit to make sure it passes certain parameters before you have people deploy funds to it and use it. So that's kind of like the challenge. So most times people um, kind of like um, game their way through testing, thorough testing, game their way through because of cheap services. Because most of these auditing companies, security audit companies, they really are not cheap. So people pay. Probably they're looking for cheap labor. They just pay cheap. They pay very. They pay to people that they feel they can actually they can um, they can afford, and these people come up with very shabby audit on their contract. And when they deploy this contract in the wild, people start depositing funds, and at the end of the day, one day you just wake up and you're hearing that this smart contract on the network has been exploited. Right? It's kind of like a very common scenario in the smart contract ecosystem. Right? We have over how many billion hacks like every year. I think you can go to there's rect, there's a rect.news. So you go to rekt.news, ne.news is home to all the major hacks in the whole ecosystem. So like it's kind of like a very important aggregation website that anybody interested to see all of the hacks and all of the security vulnerabilities and exploitations in the ecosystem. You want to visualize it, you can actually go there and see that. So that's the major challenge facing bedeviling the ecosystem. So people who really have innovative ideas, who really want to deploy their solution on the blockchain, one of the challenges they face is funding. So if you don't have that funding, because most of these auditing companies, they charge huge amounts, like ranging from 50,000 to 100,000, depending on the complexity of what you have built, to review and give you very solid audit report. You must pay that high amount. So imagine somebody starting out, you just have an innovative idea, you want to deploy it on the blockchain. These are the challenges you face, right? So, and again, the fact that you have been audited does not exclude you from being hacked, right? Just one line of code that probably is kind of like overlooked can kind of like form the basis for a smart contract or a protocol, a collection of logic on the blockchain, right? Because there are many interactions, right? It can form the basis for it to be hacked. So yeah, so the biggest challenge facing the ecosystem is like all this hack and exploitation. Then secondly, it's a nascent technology that needs to be heavily regulated. We have malicious entities deploy solutions on the blockchain, and they kind of like part with people's hard-earned money, right? We have a lot of pump and dump schemes, right? People don't do their due diligence. People just come out and pump. They kind of like deploy a new token, and people are excited about it. Hype men on Twitter, Telegram, scamming people, telling them about the prospect of this coin going up. So these are the challenges, right? So for a newbie who really do not know about the prospects of the ecosystem, they don't do real due diligence, they engage and deploy their solution, their funds to some of these malicious projects and solutions out there, and they get scammed. So yeah, and again, the absence of dues regulations has opened up room for more scams. Yeah, so we have even some of our celebrities, right? They are kind of like one of the people. They're some of the persons that proliferate some of these scams, making it easy for like newbies to kind of like be defrauded. So yeah, so these are the challenges facing the ecosystem, and I know that it's a new technology, and the prospects are there because most mainstream Web2 solutions are kind of like adopting stablecoin infrastructure like Stripe, like most of the MasterCard and Visa and most of these payment giants that we know, right? They are kind of like heavily interested in the stablecoin infrastructure, and we're kind of like I've seen even our own Flutterwave and Paystack integrating stablecoin into their infrastructure. So blockchain is the future. Then it has its challenges, but I know that with proper regulation and most products doing thorough security audit and checks, and people getting to know about the solution, I think we'll be able to surmount these challenges that bedevil this ecosystem. Yeah.
In 60 seconds, Dave, I want to ask you the question about when you talk about community. How important is community support in the success of a blockchain platform? In 60 seconds, please.
Yeah, in 60 seconds. So communities are very, very important. Like I remember back then in 2016, very few communities were there, but right now, education, because all of the things I mentioned, if we have reputable platforms to educate people and opening their eyes to the possibilities of blockchain and how not to be defrauded, I think it's going to help just to train people to become blockchain savvy, but also to understand how to build with security and skill in mind. So yeah, so blockchain communities are very, very important. Yeah, so from the grassroots, sensitization campaigns to training hubs like what we're doing here in Kaduna, right? So the communities are very, very important so that after all of these trainings, they expose them to opportunities, how they can actually build on the blockchain, take up jobs that are open source, and then contribute to the growth of the ecosystem. If you have any innovative solution, get grants, and some of these things are really not open to people who really don't leverage communities. So communities are very, very important from zero to and at every point of the journey, right? From a beginner to probably you're up there as an expert. You need communities to push anything you're building. Yeah.
Okay, in 60 seconds again, what advice do you have for developers who want to start their first blockchain project?
All right, so first of all, you need to understand how blockchain works. So you have been building as a software engineer for a couple of years, and then you want to, because this is the future, right? Just the way we have AI, blockchain, and all of that, everything eventually will be on the blockchain, right? And it has been proven because the big giant companies have adopted blockchain and they are heavily researching on blockchain. Eventually, they're going to integrate blockchain, stablecoin infrastructure in some of their payments, right? So if you want to get started, so you can actually go to, there are a lot of platforms. So there's Patrick Collins. So if you don't have access to, you can actually do it virtually, right? So there's Patrick Collins. He built a platform called Updraft. So you can actually follow Updraft, go to Updraft, ciphering Updraft, and you can actually get started. There's Web3 Bridge for those of us in Lagos. Then what we're doing, Blockheader Web3 Budo, right? We're currently on our 8th cohort. So if you want to get started, all of the things that you need to master to become a solid builder in the ecosystem will take you through the ranks and make you to become a solutions provider and building on the blockchain. And all the opportunities are enormous. Yeah.
Dave, please, just in 60 seconds so that I can round up my final question to you. Now, what trends in blockchain should developers and innovators pay attention to looking ahead?
Yeah, stablecoins are so,
okay.
The benefits are enormous, right? So stablecoins have come to stay. This is what, like I mentioned earlier, big tech giants are integrating. So you should pay attention to stablecoins. Stablecoins are and real world assets tokenization, right? So you can have an asset, probably an estate company is looking how can they tokenize all of the things their estate on the blockchain so that people can actually, without being in Nigeria, assess what they are selling, right? So that is real world assets, right? How can you integrate that? That is on one hand. Then stable coins on the other hand. So blockchain is here to stay. It's the big, is the next big thing. And if you're not paying attention to it, you don't want to be a bystander while the future happens. So yeah, so you should pay attention to RWAs, that's real world assets, and stable coins infrastructure. Yeah.
Dave Nnamdi, blockchain educator and software developer. Thank you for joining me on the show this week.
Thank you so much for having me.
I hope to catch up with you sometime this year in Kaduna. I hope we'll catch up this year.
Awesome. We will definitely. Thank you so much for having me. Thank you, Paul.